Hello and welcome to the new season of the LSD Show. We've been away for a while and we've been away for actually a long while. So, welcome again, and we hope to talk about technology. Hope to talk about the business of technology, the technology of business, and the whole environment as it evolves. Every week, today we have with us, besides Leslie, who doesn't need an introduction, so I'm not going to introduce him. We have Uday. Uday is a techie. Now, let me just explain this in a slightly better way. He's a techie who's run a business. His business has been about technology. He's developed applications. He's been at very close quarters with technology. As we speak, he's actually developing an application for CXO today. So that's the kind of affiliation he has with technology. So we thought it would be a good idea to get him into the call, into this conversation, and ask him about things that are extremely critical at this point in time. We're going to talk about, will artificial intelligence impact jobs? And I'm going to kick it off straight away with going to Uday. Uday, you've been a techie. You've done programming, you've done coding, you've built apps, right? And now you're in artificial intelligence. Tell me honestly, as somebody who's been in technology for so many years, will you be hiring the same number of people to develop an application today as you were doing 5 years ago?
I think the simple answer is no. The way I look at it, we keep talking about unicorns, right? So in my mind, I think we will see solopons, which essentially means one single person building a unicorn. That is how powerful AI is going to be, or is already is what I believe. Right? That's my short answer. So before we move forward, Subbu, if my colleagues who know me from last 20-25 years, they listen to the introduction that you have given about me, I think they are bound to laugh. Because I don't think I have ever been seen as a techie, or I have really been a techie kind of person. I have been in IT for all my life. I have been a tech leader, I would say. I have run businesses, definitely. When I started with Infosys, I think I stopped coding in first 2 or 3 years, because in Infosys, so many people used to join every year that you used to get pushed up the ladder very fast, right? So first 2-3 years, maybe I coded. After that, around 10 years back, I built one app for one of our social initiatives, and that is because I wanted to do some coding. Now, in last 6 months or 1 year, I think I can call it a rebirth, because what I realized that if I want to get something done, it's maybe easier or better to do it yourself rather than going to a swarm of developers where you have to go through multiple iterations. So maybe you get same level of frustration when you're doing it yourself, but at least you know what you are into rather than dealing with unknowns. So the short answer is no, and the long answer is also no. I guess we don't need so many people.
Leslie, you've had a ringside view of this industry over the last 30-35 years. And we have seen the industry grow and evolve. And every few years, there's a disruption. And then people say, oh, but you know what? We're going to lose a lot of jobs, right? It happened in the late 90s. If you remember, Y2K, ERP, cloud, mobility, and now AI. So from a historical perspective, what do you think is really happening? Are people losing jobs? Or is it recalibration? Or is it people losing jobs, but we are calling it recalibration?
See, this is a tricky terrain to traverse at this point in time. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the data is not supporting it. For instance, let's look at our own professions. You and I both have been, media professionals. Writing has been our core strength. Now, if you remember, we started out with Ren and Martin. Now, today's students start out with ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini, etc. And I was just thinking today, I said, if there's a solar storm, a geostorm, or whatever it be, and you suddenly have the internet goes kaput and everything else is wiped out. what happens to this generation? Will they ever be able to write anything? This gives me a sense that, okay, fine, what has happened over a period of time is that where we required 10 people to edit, today you probably require 2 people to edit, because let's be honest, the AI tools are doing in fact, actually, over a period of time, Subbu, if you remember, our editorial desks itself have, been wiped out. Let's put it that way. Does that mean that people are not rewriting stuff? Yeah, people are rewriting stuff, but you require fewer people. I think Uday started with where you require 10 people. I'm not too sure whether agentic AI has reached that level or not. I have my own opinions on that. I personally don't think, I think we are ascribing too much intelligence to these AI tools at this point in time. But definitely, AI assisted writing, AI assisted code, AI assisted anything for that matter of fact, will clearly reduce the need for too many people for the job, and that's going to be more for the routine jobs. So
But Leslie, just
that's
to
what.
interrupt you here, see, if you look at it, that's why it's, I said let's put a historical perspective. If you looked at the last 100 years, okay, every time there has been a disruption, okay, the number of people required to perform a particular task have reduced. Now, whether you talk about the English mills automation, or you
Steam
talk
engine,
yeah, or you
right?
talk about the invention of the typewriter or the word
Extreme.
processor, right? Now, we never called it a generational shift at that time. For us, it was a continuum of automation, industrialization, mechanization, whatever you choose to call it. Okay. The question I have is that is the fact that people are losing job, how much of hype is there and how much of fact is there? Yeah, Uday.
Yeah. So see, okay. So I'll give you my perspective, right? So if you go to US 125 years back, 90% of the people were engaged in agriculture. Today, there are 2%. I mean, if you go back 125 years back and give this number to people saying that only 2% of the people will be engaged in agriculture, I think they will be shocked and awe, and people would wonder what they're going to do and so on and so forth, right? It's just that the way this whole thing has evolved, you move from agriculture to manufacturing to services and things like that, and more people are engaged in services. So that shift has been continuous. But let me tell you why AI is different, right? Because I think it's the fear of unknown. So there is a short-term answer, and maybe we'll come to that when we talk about job losses and things like that. And I have a perspective there. But there is a fear of unknown, definitely. And the key reason there is because of this brain versus brawn, right? So if you look at whatever has happened till now, it has been instruction-led, right? So everything has been automated. So, you kind of you look at machines, computers, everything is just following the instructions that have been given by human beings. The problem with AI is that it has its own intelligence layer, right? And we don't know in which direction it is going to go. Now we are talking about guardrails, ethics, all those things. Fantastic. But, we are making this whole thing so intelligent that you don't know when you're going to lose control over it, right? So it's like uh, a railway train which has, does not have a driver kind of thing. You don't have any control over that in that sense. So that fear of unknown is there because it is not instruction led. It has its own intelligence. So definitely we don't know where it is going to go.
No,
Now,
like just to give you a simile back, it is like a railway train which has no driver. It lays its own track, and we don't know where the track is going.
absolutely.
So I don't agree with this line of thinking, because my point is, like, as I said, I think we are ascribing too much intelligence to something that is really a stochastic parrot.
Mhm.
So LLMs basically, and this is exactly so. I would be a little wary of sort of putting LLMs on a pedestal unnecessarily, because the fall is going to be really, really bad, because these guys, time and again, so if you see the kind of recent papers, I mean, hundreds of papers that have come up saying that, okay, fine, the stochastic parrots are actually not that intelligent. Even Jan LeCun, now Jan LeCun is the godfather of AI. So I mean, he also understands exactly. Now, of course, you can always say that, he's got a very different way of thinking. But, if you look at Andrew Ning, now Andrew Ning cannot be taken lightly. He's the founder of Coursera. He's been with Google Brain, etc. Plenty of very important roles. Now, you see many of these. So there are two sects, I would say, or rather two very, very different sets of people. Both all are experts, whether it's Jeffrey Hinton on the one hand, Joshua Bengio on the other hand, so on the one side, and where they say, okay, fine, AI is very intelligent, it has reached this level of super intelligence, and you have, I think Masayoshi Son also has said that in 20 years you'll have ASI, which is artificial super intelligence. Now, that's one sect. The other sect is the Jan LeCun who's saying that, okay, it cannot even emulate a 5-year-old kid. Because take, for instance, driving. Now, we can learn driving in 2 days. Okay, an average a person can learn driving, whether it's a two-wheeler or the four-wheeler. Whereas this takes millions of codes, millions of things. So, when we're talking about intelligence, probably we need to really define what intelligence is. That's another issue out here. In linear tasks, perhaps LLMs and AI models have really reached a level, and they can do many things that are much better than any human being, which is why we're seeing this kind of thing, and which Uday is right, clearly. Like, say, coding, routine kind of coding has already been automated. I was looking at some of the figures, like layoffs, for instance. Layoffs.fyi has got
Yeah,
some
yeah.
that I think some little over 81,000 tech employees have been laid off by 97 companies from the beginning of this year. I think last year it was something like 156,000 in the entire year. Much of it is being ascribed now clearly to AI and automation, because of, as we just discussed, that the AI, pace of automation and AI has increased 100x. So where we used to use the goods train or the steam engines, today you have the bullet train. If one were to sort of put out an analogy, but is can these losses be ascribed to AI and automation is something that we need to discuss, and that is where uh, the whole argument rests. So clearly, the pace of automation has increased. From a historical perspective, if you look at, as Uday also said, that in a sense, this is fear of the unknown. We really don't know what's happening. Some people are ascribing so much intelligence to LLM as if it's anthropomorphic in a sense. Like, we keep on doing this deifying of things that we don't understand. Like, remember Arthur C. Clarke said that anything that we don't understand is magic. So probably as we start understanding where the strengths of LLMs lie, what kind of architectures are we doing, it's important to understand that even the architecture that is underlying all the LLMs, which is generative AI, now that's already being questioned in a sense. Is this the only architecture? Like, there's the JPA architecture, which is propounded by Jan LeCun, and many other things are also happening simultaneously. So we will have that kind of ascribed intelligence that is going to happen. And one thing I think which is important as we take this discussion forward is LLMs are very, very intelligent when it comes to text, anything that is textual oriented, not in videos necessarily. At some point in time, one can always argue, okay, it's like how you have the gods of the gap reasoning. You can have this kind of, okay, at some point in time, it will reach this kind of level. Yeah, to watch, because also what is simultaneously happening, and this is where my sort of skepticism arises, is that most of the LLMs today have reached a saturation point where they're being trained now on synthetic data and AI slop to a great extent. And that could sort of reduce the efficiency. There are some papers that are already coming out saying that, okay, the efficiency of LLMs starts falling after a certain point that they have reached. Now, that is something, if that happens, then this whole thing about this intelligence part of it, whether we'll have to reinvent the wheel, whether this is just a cycle, whether we're going to come back to the entire thing, whether we are going to require this very same amount of people to clear all this, like, say, low coding, no coding, vibe coding, and all the AI written code that we have at this point in time, whether it's a Claude LLM, whether it's or whatever. If this continues, then there's a lot of bloatware also. I know they can sort of educate us on that part of it. I personally feel, speaking to my colleagues out here and my other friends in the other circle, they think there's a lot of bloatware where, again, you'll have a whole army of coders sitting down there and cleaning up all the kind of.
Exactly. So this is where I wanted to come in here. Right now, sometime back, you said if it's a linear process, then there is obviously a case for artificial intelligence coming in. Now, if you looked at the software services business, right, 50 to 60% of the business is application maintenance,
Yeah,
which is
35 to 40%, yes.
primarily a linear job. Now, if you put the math together, and if you say even 50% of the total business application maintenance, then you're talking about a large number of people who are involved in linear jobs, which today, and I'm talking about today, I'm not talking about tomorrow, today can be removed because artificial intelligence can come in and actually manage the application maintenance. Now, question is that A, is that possible? B, the reality is that people are losing jobs. Uday, you've been in Infosys, and APM is a very large part of the business for every business, every company. Where do you see that happening?
Even if I look at it the way you guys are talking about, taking care of linear tasks and things like that. So if you go pre-COVID time, there was a big wave there were two waves, right? Digital and automation. I always wondered what was that automation, because I thought that is what I was doing all my life. I mean, see, Big Four was selling automation. Okay, so now if you look at that automation, just take that automation piece. That's not the heavy lifting part of the AI. That's the easy part, and that is one of the reasons why people are losing their jobs. Someone who is doing simple instruction-led work, that can be very, very easily replaced. So job losses are real, definitely. They are more real in the tech space today, I would say, because they know how to use AI tools and things like that. If you look at job losses, I think there are more losses on the tech side than in the real industry. I know so many people who are not getting jobs. I mean, they're just fresh out of college, and this is the layer which is getting impacted most, which is junior developer, junior analyst kind of thing, because that can be very easily done by today. So that's on the one side. But having said that, I believe that there is a great opportunity as well for 2, 3 reasons, right? So one is, whatever power we are talking about at this point of time, it has not been taken to the enterprises in a big way. But if you look at the companies which are not tech companies, they are still struggling. They are still trying to figure out how to use AI in the most effective way, and how do I take care of my governance? How do I put the guardrails? How do I how do I protect my data? How do I make sure that the agent is not going rogue and things like that? So there are a lot of challenges which are there, and the large enterprises are very, very careful about implementation, right? So in fact, I was working on one RFP. It was so funny, right? So it is a large company based out of Middle East, and the RFP process itself will take 3 months. Now, 3 months in AI world is a long time, number one, right? Number two, the project timeline given by them is 9 months. So by the time whatever we implement, it will be 1 year. And by that time, the reality would have changed. So you do another project of 1 year and things like that, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is that the enterprises are not going to move so fast. Okay. And this is one of the reasons why you are not seeing the kind of impact you should have seen for companies like Infosys, Wipro, and TCS. Infosys is still going to grow by 3%. I mean, it's a different thing that the share price went down by 3% the moment they said 3%. That's a different thing, but they are still growing. They are having, I think the net headcount is going down slowly. So that transformation that we're talking about is not going to happen in the large enterprise, even in middle-sized enterprises so quickly. So there is a runway of 3 to 4 years. That's number one. Number two, I think more software will be generated. So there was a talk about SaaSocalypse, and I kind of agree with that, because the moment you talk about SaaS or package implementation, you have to pay for license. You have to spend some time to do the configuration, and then you don't have any control. So, enterprises will go back to what they were doing 40 years back. If you go 40 years back, everyone was building their own software. Nobody was buying, I mean, yes, in manufacturing, SAP came in and things like that. But in general, everyone built their own software. And I think we're going to go back there because, because of the three reasons I gave. So there is an opportunity for, I believe, in India, because we have the talent and we have the awareness and things like that, to do AI services. Right? That you tell me what AI you want to build, I will build it for you. It has to be done for that organization, for that enterprise, and things like that. So there is a big opportunity definitely in AI services space for a few years to come. And when we talk about large enterprises, they're anyway going to take good amount of time. So while we will lose jobs at the junior level, I think overall, if India plays it right, I'm talking from Indian context because we have that strength in services. If we play it right, I think we can do it.
Yeah, but the problem is that I mean, the more things change, the more they remain the same. There is a ton of code out there, okay? Especially if you look at the BFSI sector, which is probably among the earliest adopters of technology for the last 50 years,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
There's a ton of code out there which requires to be modernized. And for the last 40 years, it has been, everybody has been trying to modernize it.
Absolutely.
It's always been trying to modernize. Now, I don't know when the modernization is going to happen. But anyway, let's leave that for a moment.
There's a dichotomy there, right, Subbu? So basically, if you look at financial services, they drive a lot of innovation in the tech space, right? Because of whatever they do, a lot of things happen. But when it comes to changing whatever they already have, they are the slowest. Because, if things go wrong,
Exactly. So I was coming to that only. My point is that BFSI adoption of AI will be predicated on the quality and the reliability of the services that they provide. Now, if I go by Leslie's logic, the technology is not yet, case study stable. There is a lot of question marks. The question marks in terms of LLMs themselves, the proprietary nature of it, the vulnerability of it, and so on and so forth. So, if the largest user, the largest adopter of technology is going to be kind of chary with adopting the technology, which means that they're going to continue with whatever legacy that they have at this point in time, then why are tech companies knocking off jobs?
that math is simple, Subbu. See, whatever work that could have been done by 10 people can be done by 4 people now. That's the only thing. That is the reason why, IT companies are knocking off, because customer is asking for that.
So, again, this is my pet theory. And is it that the industry is looking for a fig leaf to, rationalize? I'm using the word rationalize, but you know what I mean. To rationalize the headcount which they had absorbed at some point in time, anticipating some growth, which probably is not happening. Is that the real agenda?
Well, yes and no, Subbu. So let's look at BPO, because that is where most of the manual continuous work happens, right? So if you look at BPO KPO space, traditionally a large BPO company in India will go and make a pitch saying that, okay, you have 1,000 people, I'll do this work with 700 people. Okay, that will be the initial pitch. I'm talking about pre-AI era. I will do it with 700 people because I have this tool, that tool. My people are more efficient. I'll, work better and so on and so forth. And plus, your cost will come down by 50% because anyway, I'll do it from India mainly, so it will be cheaper. So that was a pitch, initial pitch. Now the pitch is maybe 50% of productivity and things like that. So that is the efficiency, which is maybe AI-led, may not be AI-led and things like that. Another company came in, a startup, which made a pitch that I will do this job with 15 people. Okay. Now that is disruption, real disruption. So both the things are happening.
Leslie, what is your take? I mean, you think that the IT companies are rationalizing bloatware, or is AI actually knocking off people? There is a use case for that. And just now Uday said that enterprises are not really adopting AI in a real sense. So as and when that happens, do you see rationalization happening on that end also?
No, see, that's a given that AI enterprises are not adopting AI. I think that's over a period of time. A lot of reports have come out, and even in my own personal discussions with enterprises, uh, I think there are two or three reasons for that. One is I think the lifespan of a CTO or the CXO. I mean, generally in a company, you find some of these CTOs, the tenure is about 3 to 5 years typically on average. So by the time they implement something, they don't want to upset the apple cart. They're responsible to shareholders. Downtime is not appreciated. Like the BFSI sector, healthcare sector, the retail, many of them are very highly regulated, especially the BFSI sector and the healthcare sector. So any mistake, even a small mistake, they err on the side of caution, and that's bound to happen at some point in time. So that cycle is going to be very long, and also there, as we've just pointed out, that many of these systems are still based on COBOL. So that
Correct.
modernization is still going on. I don't know for what reason. So whether it's a problem of a CTO, whether it's a problem of a CIO, whether it's a problem of the CEO himself, that's history basically at the end of the day. But I'm just looking at some facts and figures out here, specifically speaking to the AI and automation part of it. Much of the hiring happened because of COVID. That's over a period of time during COVID. They did a lot of hiring, so they're getting rid of much of that headcount because it's not needed at this point in time. Is it really because of AI and automation? Yes, part of it is, I think, clearly because of AI and automation. But I'm just going by some data points out here because I think it's important for our viewers and listeners to understand data also here. So LinkedIn has confirmed a 20% decline in hiring since 2022. These are the figures that LinkedIn has put out. And now they are saying that essentially, and I'm quoting, broader decline in hiring is more closely tied to rising interest rates rather than AI. Now, whatever you want to make of that. The second one is Stanford computer science graduates are struggling to find entry level jobs. This is something that even Uday spoke about, junior level roles. And this is a dramatic reversal from about 3 years ago. Imagine like Stanford CS guys not getting jobs. So the class of 2026 is struggling. But even there, it's hard to find data that provides evidence linking AI adoption to reduced job postings. And this is a Stanford Review article. So Stanford Review itself is saying that we do not have the data at this point in time to even, sort of speak about this. So I think the truth clearly lies in somewhere in the middle. Now, what I am personally confused about, there are two questions that I have in mind. Okay, yes, we are saying that okay, junior level roles will vanish over a period of time. That's the understanding. I think here the presumption is also this, that much of the software that will come out, AI agents, etc., are going to be abracadabra. You know, it's
Exactly.
some kind of magic pill, and some lady will move a wand, and everything is going to find. I don't think that's going to happen with most of the sectors because they have a legacy equipment. I mean, that thing by the time they modernize it, people will not understand. And as Uday said, by the time those things are implemented, the technology would have moved eons ahead. So nobody really has a clear idea. Human mind is such that it cannot wrap its head around so many technologies. Like just yesterday, some 5.5 GPT released 5.5. Before we can blink our eye, something else will come. Then you'll have GPT-6 on the horizon, and Anthropic will come out with Opus 5.0, whatever that number is. Now, every time we're talking about advanced reasoning, thinking skills, and AI agentic, these are the kind of three broad trends that we're seeing at this point in time. That AI agents will sort of become so intelligent that, as Uday said, you can have a solocon, right? So from a unicorn, the decacorn, hexacorn, and now the solocon. So the one-person agency. As of now, there is not a single company that has managed to do that. An AI agent has not been able to create $1 billion company at this point in time. Okay, will it be able to do it in the next month? I do not know. I'm not. You can't hazard a guess. Maybe in certain sectors it may be able to do it, not across sectors. Can it do it in the retail function? Can it create a Blinkit kind of company single-handedly without dark warehouses, without gig workers? Unless you're going to say that, okay, you're going to have a swarm of robots also, AI-powered
No, no,
robots.
but
So
that
if you look at the tech space, the disruption is already there. It is very, very real. right? So if you look at a website called tinyteams.xyz, there you will have a list of small companies which have become unicorns. So if the companies that we know of, right, Lovable, Cursor, these are very, very small. I mean, I think the biggest example is WhatsApp. It's got
Uday,
18,
by
19
that
billion.
logic, even WhatsApp was just 19 people. So it was a
Exactly.
19
Yeah,
billion.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So that
Yeah,
historical data has always been consistent.
It's always been there.
WhatsApp is definitely there, right? $19 billion with 50 people. But having said that, that was, such stories were far and few. Now, if you look at the new companies, they have done it in like 1 year, 2 year, and things like that, right? So
No, no,
there's a lot of
one
companies
second.
where
Sorry. I
yeah,
don't want to interject, but I'm just giving another example of Zerodha. Zerodha is an Indian company. Zerodha has just 30 people. It does it completely with open source. And just 30 people in the IT team.
I think the time, Leslie, you have to look at the time period, right? I think the acceleration, if you look at
I
Lovable,
know.
Cursor, they have been built in last 2 to 3 years. That's it. So
No, no.
that
So
acceleration
I
is
think
huge.
that and the question here is that look, I'm the reason why I'm kind of saying that the valuation hat, the valuation argument is always a little dicey because companies have taken haircuts. IBM took a haircut for Red Hat. Cursor, for example, has been acquired, for 66
Yeah.
billion or thereabouts, something like that, right? But when you have a market cap of, $1 trillion, 3 years down the line, taking a haircut of 66 billion is no big deal. The question that I have is that for a moment, let's leave the valuation game out.
Hmm.
Let's look at the actual usage, the number of people that are using the technology, and I'm not talking about revenue. Okay, you might be giving it away, and that's fine as far as I'm concerned. Now, in terms of people using the technology, how many companies are out there? Because remember that when WhatsApp was acquired, it was actually being used by a lot of people. The valuation came much later. So my simple argument here is that how many artificial intelligence companies which are today being valued at, I don't know what the word is, beyond 10 billion, so I'm just leaving it at that.
We have
But
lost count of
I,
them.
I don't know. So whatever the number is, whatever the term is, but how many artificial intelligence companies are finally going to see adoption at enterprise level or the user level, as the case may be?
So let me respond to this. Just like with any technology, there is a hype curve, right? So you'll have the peak of hype, then you will go into value of despair, and then you have plateau of productivity. So I think we are at the peak of
Where
the
are we
hype.
now?
I
Are
think we
we
are
at the peak or are we
close
at the
close
trough?
to the peak, because the money will run out after some time.
Yeah.
The money is
Yeah.
going to run out, and then you will see the value of despair in next 1 or 2 years.
The money is going to run out by September this year because Mr. Musk is going for an IPO, $1.75 trillion dollars, plus three other IPOs are coming. So all the dry powder that is out there is
Hmm.
going to get sucked out by these IPOs by September.
So
No,
in
but
next 1 or 2 years, you will see, major consolidation and a lot of companies going bust and things like that. We have seen that with dot-com also, right? Dot-com bust happened in 2002, but obviously the technology has stayed and, it is integral part of what we do today. So I think the same thing will happen after maybe.
So, Uday, are you then saying that despite all the noise that is out there, you still require a warm body to build an API with an IBM 360 today?
So let me put it this way. So if you look at a company like NVIDIA, when they give requirements that, I need 10 people, I think 5 of them are AI engineers.
But clear about what the AI engineer is going to do.
According to the JD, they are giving a person. You have put a JD out there. They're saying, okay, this is the person who is going to take care of the JD. So that's what I'm saying. In the tech space,
I think this distinction is very, very important, which Uday is also speaking about. And I think, typically this is exactly where most people differ. That in tech companies, the curve is so, what I would say meteoric that we cannot, wrap our heads around very easily because an NVIDIA is working on a very different scale. An OpenAI, Anthropic, and the DeepSeek, many of these companies are working on a very, very different level. on the other hand, you have many companies that are yet to adopt, AI. See, I think traditional AI, I don't think anybody is really discussing, because machine learning, prediction, all of those things are already embedded very, very deeply into the enterprise, and nobody's questioning that. The questioning is whether Gen AI and agentic AI are mature enough, and that's where the hype cycle is creating. For me, the more important concern, which is again tied into your valuation, I would not diss the valuations very easily, because the valuations are tied to the cost of compute. And my problem is with the cost of compute, because tokens are very expensive.
No, 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 no. Leslie, I'm differing here with you. The valuation are today tied to the revenues that are being made at an exorbitant multiple. If you
No,
look,
no, that's what I'm saying. So I would not diss the valuation part of it very easily, because for me, that is exactly the crux of it. Because the cost of compute is so high that it is going to question the valuation at some point in time. So where, again, and this is where I would love to bring Uday in again. My question to you, Uday, is that we are saying 10 people versus 5 people. Have we really considered the cost of compute? I know it will fall at some point in time. I'm not saying no, but there are certain other new technologies that will also cost more simultaneously. So when you're using, the H100s, and if you're using a Blackwell, obviously the cost difference is really huge. For particular task, if you're using a TPU, you cannot use a TPU for scientific discovery. You're using a TPU only for linear kind of processes. So these kind of differences are bound to happen. Now, companies really factoring in this particular thing when you're saying, okay, I have 5 AI agents, as you said, okay, and 5 human workers? Are we saying that, one possibility is that human plus AI is going to be the way of work in the future, which is it is already becoming, okay, in at least in the tech companies. It may take a lot more time to get down to enterprises where, manpower, and then of course, remember that there are governments sitting over there that will say that we'll not introduce driverless cars because it will take away jobs. It's happened not only in India with Nitin Gadkari, the Union Minister, who made a statement saying that I'll not introduce driverless cars. It's also happened in countries like Canada. For instance, in Toronto, you had the mayor saying that no, I will not introduce driverless cars, despite Waymo being so fair, sort of well established in North America as such. So these things are bound to happen everywhere. But having said that, are we taking the cost of compute into factor when we're talking about human versus AI displacement? Say, for instance, robots. Now you're saying, okay, I want a robot to clean my house. Now my maid costs me X amount of money, whether it's I pay her 2,000 rupees per month, or I pay her 5,000 or 10,000, depending on who I am. Uh, if I get a robot to do all this kind of work, will that robot be able to justify? That is the way I would have looked at it. Is this same thing happening out there in enterprises?
So see, listed there are two things. So if you look at a human being versus technology, I think there are many differences. So somewhere it offsets. Again, I don't have the data points here, but NVIDIA may not be the right company to look at, because they will use their own chips and things like that. So it's cheaper for them. But having said that, if I talk about my personal experience, which is not at an enterprise space, I mean, let's say even if I take a very junior developer, I'll have to spend 50,000 rupees per month. If I take 1 lakh rupees or 6 lakh rupees, I have spent maybe 30,000 rupees in terms of the computing power. That's it. That is one data point. I don't have data point across.
No, fair enough.
but historically, let's also face one thing. Historically, we've had data points. In the West, whenever the West has, tried to automate and gain advantage, we have thrown people and gained the same advantage. I remember when, I don't want to name the company, when this French company came to India for metropolitan garbage collection. And it was a fabulous concept that they had, where they said that we'll automate the entire garbage collection on a daily basis, and we will make sure the city is clean. The state chief minister had only one thing. He said, for the price that you're demanding, at quarter the price, I can send 1,000 people onto the streets and collect the garbage. Now,
1,000 people and they will not collect the garbage. That's a different thing.
That's a different issue. That way, if you see, the biggest question I had is that tomorrow, if we start developing AI bots and AI agents, two things are going to happen. One, we are going to quickly determine their caste. And second thing is that we are going to have union strikes where we'll say reservation for the bots.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Reservation for bots and their rights.
And the
Basically,
rights. So
you'll have
that is
lawyers come and you're the
exactly,
lawyer, so you'll have lawyers like you coming in and saying where are the rights.
exactly. So wo to hoga.
And
The
remember, Bicentennial Man showed that.
exactly. My point is that, see, the thing is that these kind of competitive advantages always played out in the history. Now, in the current context, where we are saying that, AI is going to do this, is going to, kind of make my food and probably going to feed me, and it's probably going to even take me to the doctor or be the doctor, all kinds of things. In India, the cost of labor is very different. The cost of compute versus the cost of labor. Okay, which is why I'm not really fussed up about you know the Nvidia chips coming to India after 3 years after depreciation, because our requirement is going to be that at the enterprise level. So the real issue here is that if you are going to let go of people who are actually going to cost you very predictably, whereas here you don't know the cost of compute, you don't know what it's going to cost you tomorrow. So why should the enterprise then dealing people in favor of a use case which is not established both technologically, which is what Leslie said, and commercially, which is what Uday is saying?
Yeah, but so the layoffs are happening as again, I'm coming back to what Uday also has been saying, and all of us have been saying that it's mostly in the tech sector. Now, whether it is a lack of application of mind and a kind of a reactionary measure where you do not understand enough of the technology, because see, I think if it is something like a principle where I'm getting rid of the riffraff and making AI a lovely scapegoat, so then it is okay, because if it's performance based, I can understand that. That is typical of most tech companies, or many companies. GE used to have it, was made so famous by GE. So you have the underperformers every time, you have the 10-20% being allowed to go. That is fine, but what happens next is that when we're talking about upskilling and reskilling, what do you reskill and what do you upskill them for? Because technology is changing every second day. Even the people who are going to reskill them and upskill them need reskilling and upskilling. So what are you upskilling and what are you reskilling them for, and what do you want? Because at the end of the day, we're not asking the basic question: what problem do I need to solve?
No, but then you've answered the question. No, the minute you say that I'm okay if you're letting go of people because you had actually hired them either far too many or by mistake, tomorrow if the technology changes, I'll let go of these guys also.
Yeah, so something of that, I don't know what the process is going to happen with. It's a little tricky, I'm saying. So I think everybody is shooting in the dark at this point in time.
There are two, 3 points which maybe in some way, kind of relate to whatever you guys are talking about. So, see, one thing is that uh, most of the times, wherever this whole thing is happening, right, the AI is happening, it is happening as a bolt-on. When I say bolt-on, you're taking a process, you're saying, okay, let me make this process faster, better, and so on and so forth by using AI. So you do that in isolation for 10 different processes, right? So every process has improved by 50%. So you expect the org level process to improve by 50%, but that is not happening. Maybe the top-down approach has not been taken, bottom-up approach has been taken, right? So that is one challenge. So I think again there is a need for a new age consulting approach, so to say, which will look at the whole thing, the impact of AI on the organization, the operating model of the organization, top-down, and not bottom-up, the bolt-on kind of thing. So that is one, right? The second is that obviously when you bring AI in whatever way, obviously the nature of job of people around that will change. So if you go back and look at KPO, BPO kind of sector, since it is repetitive and things like that, again, they have not been able to see the overall improvement, the kind of improvement they wanted. There are some case studies which show that what is happening there is that the exception management is not happening as efficiently. So you're gaining a lot of productivity on the happy flow, but when it comes to exception management, the number is higher because many a times maybe, the thing is being pushed into exception by the agents. In that case, what is happening that the people who are very good at running the SOPs, they're not the best people to kind of manage exceptions. And that is where there is a loss of productivity. That human in the loop concept is still there. But having said that, nobody has taken care of the human. If you're taking care of the technology, the human being has not been taken care of, which in effect is not able to give you the kind of returns that you expect. I think this human piece, reskilling, redefining the organization, redefining the JD, retraining the people is definitely required. And Leslie, to your point, it's not really something to do with AI. It's all about understanding that the role of that person has changed, and hence the JD has changed, the expectations have changed, and most of the times you should be able to reskill that person in the conventional ways. That is my take.
So are we then saying that a lot of these AI-led job losses or AI-led investments is essentially happening because people believe in the potential of the AI, not its performance. They haven't seen the performances yet. It is the potential, it is the what AI can do. Is that what we are saying?
Okay.
So I think we've already seen what AI can do, because in certain JDs, as Uday was talking about specific JDs, I love the example of the Excel sheet. Now, you take the Excel sheet. Now you had analysts working on Excel sheets, etc. Now today an AI agent can do that very, very efficiently. So do you require CA to sit down? Do you require an analyst to sit down with your Excel sheets? No, many of the job functions have gone away. BPOs. Now I still remember, talking about those traditional BPOs. Where are they? The voice centers, we knew that it was going away to a very great extent. With the things like 11 Labs or with Sadvam's thing, etc., you're going to have them in many, many languages. So voice AI is another very important, component of this, where you're going to have a lot of stuff happening. And people, for this productivity and efficiency purposes and cost purposes, because they want to reduce the cost of the organization, which is what Uday is talking about. Enterprises want to do that, and they want to show their, especially if you're a listed company, you want to show your shareholders that I'm reducing the cost, improving the efficiency. If that is happening, wonderful. Where we are getting irked is that you're retrenching a lot of people. Now, if you're entrenching underperformers in the normal cycles, also you would have done it. Here, you're saying that, okay, because AI is coming in, everybody's going to lose their jobs. That is the question that we're asking. Now, I am not too sure about that part of it, because too many variables are there at this point in time. Personally, I would say I would wait and watch. I'm not going to put out any statement, because I know that even if I make a statement at this point in time, it's going to be, in all likelihood, it will, the arguments will fall apart. Not so because of the whether the arguments are cogent or not. It's more because of the variables. Like
Variables.
one variable I'm looking at is being trained on AI slop, which it's a major concern for me. Second, there are a lot of reports which have surfaced now, that there are workers who are deliberately poisoning the AI data. Now, if they're doing that at this point in time, and if LLMs are again getting trained on that poison data, you're going to have another big issue out here. And they're doing it deliberately because they know that, AI, they're teaching AI to take away their own jobs. So this is human nature. So human ingenuity is really, we have, so humans in the loop and human ingenuity. These are variables that are quite important. We cannot dismiss them with ease. A lot of things are going to happen in the next 6 months to 1 year that will probably change the face of how we are looking at this entire issue. That's my humble submission.
So
I have one. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
A philosophical perspective. So, with advent of any technology, so two things have happened. One is the level of poverty has gone down because technology has been able to do things. Overall, if you look at the world in general, the overall poverty level has gone down with time. Having said that, the second thing which has happened is like more and more money, wealth has gone in the hands of few people. Right?
Exactly.
So if you look at oil, if you look at the largest companies, they were like the BPs and Shells of the world, and then it was become the tech companies. And
The inequality, the poverty has gone down, inequality is widened.
So with AI also the same thing is going to happen, is my take. That is definitely going to happen because the power will be with still fewer people.
Few people, yeah.
Right? So I think the people can be divided in three categories. one set of people who are like the makers of AI, and that is obviously very, very small number of people. There will be a larger set of people who will be users, good users of AI, and then the rest. So Leslie, to your point where you said I'll wait and watch, I would say that I would, like to ride the wave. There's a wave which is definitely there, right? So I don't want to watch the whole thing from shores. I want to be in the middle of that, ride the wave, be on the right side of the AI wherever it goes.
Oh, no, no. I didn't mean that. When I said wait and watch, I'm in the midst of AI myself. I've written a whole book on AI. So there's no question about waiting and watching. When I said wait and watch,
In
I'm
terms
looking
of what
at the
happens, yeah.
variable. This is a tsunami. You're already carried away by it. And still, okay, let me just clarify one thing. I think, yeah, this entire debate about AI taking away your jobs and all is, that's why we are discussing it more in the philosophical. But as far as AI is concerned, AI is already there everywhere. AI is in our smartphones, AI is in the banking system, AI is in the retail system. I don't think we're discussing that part of
Yeah.
it. We are discussing the potential of agentic AI, which is, sort of where AI can be automated to this level, or it is being automated to this level that you won't need a human in the loop.
Mm.
Now, if I were to draw a parallel, we used to have and Subbu, correct me if I'm wrong out here, but we used to have the lights out factory almost 2 decades back. Okay, it's not nothing new. Now, does that mean that the lights out factories did not have a human in the loop? Obviously, they had humans in the loop. Okay, nobody spoke about that time because, at that point in time we were so enamored with the technology, with new things, that okay, everything can be, automated. And that time nobody, AI was not even being
And
discussed.
social media was not there.
Social media was not there, and we had these so-called lights out factories almost like 2 decades back.
See, when social media was not there, if you did know something, you kept quiet about it.
You kept
Now
quiet.
that with social media there, if you don't know something, you actually put out a theory saying that this is what I think it ought to be.
So my limited point here out here is not to defy the agentic AI part of it, and not to ascribe so much intelligence to it that it is going to wipe out humanity, which is, I'm surprised and a bit sort of confused, when experts do that. And these people are not to be taken lightly. Like, you cannot take a Jeffrey Hinton lightly. He's a godfather of AI. You also have the godmother of AI, Fefeli, who says no. It do not ascribe this kind of intelligence. So there are two people on either side of the fence. Okay, one might always say that, Jan LeCun has this habit of dissing AI, very surprisingly or ironical, because remember, as much of our deep we owe much of our deep learning because of Jan LeCun. I think these are important to understand, that the experts also do not really agree, and none of them are questioning the traditional AI. They're talking about agentic AI. They're talking about ascribing too much intelligence to it and saying that, okay, fine, at one point in time, you will not require humans in the loop, or no, humans will probably just be, part of the equation. Now, a nice way of putting it is, okay, you'll have human plus AI. Because society is there, you have governments, and we know that there are guardrails. And then another polite way of saying it is, "Oh, don't worry, you will have universal basic income, you'll have universal high income, or you'll have whatever to bridge the inequality part of it that we were talking about."
Yeah, but
But
I really worry about that piece, Leslie, whether AI will be able to help with that. I think,
No, no. I mean, just to give you an example, we have this where I live. There was this person who was running a cloud kitchen, and 1 week back there was a notice where all that she had done was from Symphony Cloud Kitchen, she had rechristened it to AI-led Symphony Cloud Kitchen. Nothing has changed. The potholes are still going to be there, right? The road rage is still going to be there, and you know what? Bangalore traffic is not going to get any faster because of AI.
and also, I think most of our discussions, it's very humbling to understand that most of our discussions are revolving around the organized sector. We're
Exactly.
not talking about almost 80% or 85% of the unorganized sector being touched by this. You know that I operate from Goa sometimes. So, where exactly do I talk about? When I go to a small little restaurant and they tell me, oh, you can use AI to automate it. For what?
Yeah.
And a guy who's repairing your cycle. Now, here people love cycling. Okay, they take their cycles, whether it's a geared cycle, whether it's a non-geared cycle or something. You take it, you go to a shop, you have a lovely conversation with the guy, you get it done. It takes 2 hours or something. Now, where's AI going to help you, or where's a robot going to help you out there? Yeah, it can do it in seconds, but understand the complexity of the human nature.
The question is, AI can do, robot can do it in second, but I have all the time. So in India, I think it's going to be AI in the loop, not human in the loop. We will use
Yeah,
AI when we want to.
humans are very complex beings. We are reducing biology to just machines, and that is my issue from a philosophical point of view. That, and which I think even people like Yuval Noah Harari time and again pointed out. Many scientists have pointed it out also. You know that we are very very complex beings. So let's not reduce ourselves and kill ourselves before AI does that. So my humble
AI
submission.
probably won't do that, except that we think it will do. Again, the potential.
It's a perception, and perception
Yeah.
is bigger than reality. That's the problem.
So are we then saying that job losses will happen because of technology, not AI specifically? AI is a factor of production. It is a continuum in the overall automation, like they were saying, digitization, automation, that continuum. And today, the only thing that we know about Gen AI and agentic AI is that we don't know anything. We don't know where it's going. We don't know its potential. We don't know what the next 3 months are going to bring. We don't know what the next 6 months are going to bring. And we don't know, most importantly, what is the impact on the individual performance specific role. Is that what we're saying?
For me, like I have this joke among my friends. They say AI can take action on my behalf. That's what we say. AI, agentic AI, can take actions also on my behalf, which makes it so powerful. I think we all agree on that part of it. So you say, okay, fine, it can book my ticket, it can pay for my ticket, obviously with my consent. Then I said, please tell it to take a holiday also on my behalf.
Exactly. Great, gentlemen. Thank you very much. It was interesting. It is good to know that we don't know. I think the first step is that a lot of rhetoric that is going on, a lot of conversations that are happening. People are saying 92 million jobs are going to be lost, then 152 million jobs are going to be lost. But those are just numbers. I think what we have to understand is that behind 92 and 152, there's a human being. And we are talking about how is AI impacting the human beings' lives. And
Subbu, I know that you're concluding, and I generally don't like to interfere, but I would love to quote Marvin Minsky over here. We started this entire conversation with intelligence. So, Marvin Minsky, way back in the 1960s, and just for our viewers and listeners, Marvin Minsky was one of the founders of this word called AI, along with Claude Shannon, Nathaniel, and like all the masters of AI. So Marvin Minsky was asked by one of the reporters, what do you think if AI becomes as intelligent as a human being or even surpasses human intelligence? Saying, I'm not worried because then it will become as stupid as human beings.
exactly.
So, so this is something which I keep telling people, right? The race is between AI and NS. So people ask, what is NS? I say, like, natural stupidity. Artificial intelligence is natural stupidity.
Because we have got this habit of anthropomorphizing, lending our human attributes to everything under the sun, whether it is a god or whether it's a machine or whatever it be. So let's enjoy the race, let's enjoy the show, and we'll watch.
Can keep the emotions away, it can become better than us. But it
But
looks like they're getting emotions also.
Yeah, so that's exactly why I quoted Marvin Minsky, saying
yeah,
that then we're making them as stupid as us
yeah,
only.
then it's good. If they're going to get emotional, then I can take them on. That's not a problem. Thank you very much, Uday. Thanks, Leslie. And I just hope that this is interesting and informative. To me, at least, it is informative because it tells me that it's good to sometimes say I don't know. So on that note, thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the next edition of the LSD show.